But, I mean, if it instantly turns this into a health police state.
Yeah, well, that's a lot different in Canada, because I did see that in the bill that you have to pay this amount into it. And if you don't, then you automatically owe the IRS like 2% of your income.
Well, Sonia, first they'll garnish your wages.
Yeah, so they're going to force you to pay one way or another. And let's say you've been under the radar for some reason, then you actually go into a hospital, you just put yourself on the radar, and then you're in big trouble. In Canada, we have a bit of a weird system because we have a Canadian health care card, but it goes per province. Mm-hmm. And, for example, a friend of mine who went to Ontario said you get billed for the medical. They won't refuse you. They'll take you with your Quebec card, but then they will bill you, and then you have to get it back from the government or something like that. I've never had health care out of the province, so I don't really know how it works, but it's not like you just go into any hospital anywhere and there's no hassle. But even in Quebec, if you don't, let's say you show up, you don't have a card, I mean, they're not going to turn you into anybody. They might just bill you, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should all be Canadians then. That sounds a lot better than what we're getting. And plus, what you just mentioned is true. There's two things about Canadian healthcare that I think people need to know above everything else. One is that it is provincial. That means it's regional, and you can affect the laws and the enforcement of the laws on a regional basis, which is decentralized somewhat, and that's good. That should always be good. The other thing is that in Canada, as you guys probably know, if you've been out to try to get care, there's no doctors because there's no real incentive to be a doctor in the Canadian healthcare system, and that's what people are talking about in this system. You've got 30 million or however more people that are going to be insurance customers now. This was all supposed to be anti-insurance, but they've just picked up 30 million new customers, and they're not crying about it. There's a lot of talk here that doctors are, especially older doctors that are maybe in their 50s, that could go on, a while longer, are going, okay, well, I got mine, I'm good, I'm going to get out. Now you've got all these new customers and less doctors, and that means bigger waiting times, and that means that you've got to be assigned a doctor, and if you've got an emergency, and you're not elite, you don't have the Cadillac plan, you're not, with a lot of money, which I know works good in Canada still, then it's just too bad for you.
Yeah, well, we have a shortage, but it's because the government decides how many doctors can be in which place and in which hospital. And when you graduate, you're not allowed to work in a metropolitan area. You have to work out in the country and pay your dues for a while. If you work in a city against the law, then you're fined something like $100,000 a year. So the government decides. And they put caps on doctors' earnings. They put limits on how many hours they can work. So the government really has a lot of influence on it, and then.
So why not go join the stock market, or why not be a financier, or why not sell snake belts on the street? I mean, why do you want to be a doctor when there's so many regulations, so little to protect you, and it's so hard to move forward without being regulated and constantly checked and balanced? It just doesn't make sense, and I think the story pretty much told itself when we had one of your top Canadian diplomats come to this country for a heart procedure.
Yeah, people do that all the time. Cancer patients go to the States because certain treatments that are approved in the States are not approved here. And then if you try to get reimbursed, they say it's not an approved treatment, even though it might be the one that works really, really well. And it's approved in the States, that they'll say it's not a recognized treatment and unaccredited clinic that you got it from. I mean, people go to the States for treatment because they have better health care in the U.S., from what I can tell. I mean, for the people who can afford it. But in Canada, we for sure we have a lot of problems. You have really long wait lines. We do have a two-tiered system. So actually what happens is, if you're poor, you will get care, but you're going to wait a really, really long time.
Which is what we have here right now.
Well, my father-in-law waited 8 years to have an aortic aneurysm fixed. 8 years. Okay, and if you're poor or you're like a useless eater, you're going to wait forever. Forget about it. They'll put you on the list, but you'll never really get treated. That's what I've seen. If your family is a major donor to the hospital, you'll get first-class treatment. or if you're a politician or you're wealthy, or you're going to go and get private treatment from the second tier, which is what I do, although I don't use it very often. But if I have to get a scan or something, I just go and pay for it, because otherwise I'll wait like a year for it.
Well, and I've done this before. I mean, going back years in this country, there are free clinics. You can go. Yes, you have to wait. It's not as convenient. But, I mean, this Obamacare here, it's not going to affect Dick Cheney or somebody who needs life extension heart therapy. I mean, he's going to go to the top clinic. He's going to, drop his name or his money or his credit card down, and he's going to get it. But the rest of us, and this is all about putting us in the system, Sonia. I mean, this is my primary objection. Yes, it costs a lot of money. No, it doesn't work. But the thing is it takes our freedom away from us, and when we start getting into shared health files, and will my future employer want to hire me when he finds out I've got diabetes or a heart condition or I'm a smoker? I mean, none of this stuff is anyone's business. It just isn't. And those days are over as this goes through, and I don't see any way to really cancel it out, though the states are taking measures into their own hands, and it might really test the 10th Amendment here in this country, which I think is fantastic. But I'm not a bring-it-on kind of a guy. I don't want everything to get bad so we can win, okay? I want to go the other way.
It's better to avoid the danger.
But they are talking, in the bill, they're talking about electronic records, electronic billing, first of all, and electronic medical records. And they do say that the client can decide to have certain medical information not put on the records, but we'll see about that, right?
Well, it's just like your emails won't be on the record, where you were today won't be on the record. All of that is your data trail. If you listen to an interview I did with David Bond, who made this great film called Erasing David, and you see how law-abiding citizens can get caught up in this whole thing, there's going to be a lot of mistakes. We know with any bureaucracy in this country, it's like, trying to send something through the post office. It's just about impossible. I'm not for the Skull and Bones Federal Express either, but at some point, we need to have the choices. I get to have the choices. If I want to send a letter, I've got a variety of choices of how I do it. What they've done is they've narrowed down our choices to nothing, and as this gets bigger and bigger and it gets fatter and fatter, it's going to take away our choices, our liberty, our privacy, and our money.